saying we're live, gentlemen, and welcome. We've got our special guest, Kiwistone, also known as Foxy, also known as Richard Fox. How are you?
Correct, yes. Yeah, I'm good.
Also
good to be here, Andrew. Good seeing you, Carl.
Also known as a Stones extraordinaire, nationally and internationally.
Yeah, and the Prince of the Voodoo Lounge.
I'm sure I'm known by all sorts of other names as well, but
I'm going to claim that one.
I won't repeat the others.
I like that one. Yeah, exactly. They're not repeatable. So but I like that one. That's good.
Hey, you know, we've been talking about getting you on for a while, and we appreciate the fact that you're a busy man, and that's cool. So it's a pleasure for you to be on our show. I think what drew our attention to getting you on are your posts on your Facebook page about an important event in your life and probably the history of rock and roll in this country. The 25th anniversary of the Voodoo Lounge tour. Yeah,
for sure. It's a big deal, and I thought we could focus on the Voodoo Lounge tour and the New Zealand stuff in particular tonight. You know, it happens to be the 25th anniversary today of the first of two shows they played here in Auckland in '95. And the thing with the big deal for us Kiwis is that the Stones hadn't been here since '73, so it's 22 years with no Rolling Stones, and a lot of guys our age, we were all too young, you know, to go to that, or maybe not even born in Carl's case, perhaps. But so only the older Kiwi fans had seen them previously in the 60s and 73. So it's kind of been a long time between drinks. So it was a big deal, you know. I'd seen Jagger in '88 for the first time and thought when he came here on the solo tour, as probably quite a few people did, and also would have thought maybe this is as close as it's going to get. This is all we're going to see. We're not going to see the Stones ever, you know. It's kind of who knew, you know, back then in the 80s, it was all over the Winning Ugly and stuff like that, and the Had It With You and all the songs that were, you know, kind of a bit aggressive between Mick and Keith.
Was there any reason? Was there any reason in particular, Foxy, that the Stones didn't come earlier? Or is there any reason that?
I guess dollars and distance, you know, to be perfectly honest. I don't think there's any sort of drug bust history like with Japan or things like that where they couldn't go at certain times and different things like that. I imagine we're a small market. We're at the end of the world. We're a long way away, and it's expensive to come here, and, you know, small audience really, potentially.
Yeah.
So
that's the only thing I can think of too is just, you know, their hands are tied when it comes to management and production and budgeting, you know. So, but if they do Sydney and Brisbane and Melbourne, they better do Auckland, you know.
Yeah. Sure.
But I mean, have they always typically gone to Australia, or when was the last time they toured Australia?
Well, that was the thing. Basically, they had followed the same pattern as us. So in '95 was the first time, I think, for Australia as well. They didn't go there on the Steel Wheels tour or Still Life tour or anything like that. So they also had the big gap. The only time they got them when we didn't get them was in 2003, and for whatever reason, the Stones did 8 shows in Australia and none in New Zealand. But yeah, so '95 I think was the first time again for Australia, so they'd had a huge gap. So obviously, you know, lots of other bands had come and gone, and but for whatever reason, the Stones hadn't. So it was a huge deal. You know, it's like, oh my God, are they really coming? You know, it was just sensational. I can't even remember when I first heard it announced. I guess it would have been on the radio. You know, there was no.
Okay, that was my question that I was going to ask, because obviously we didn't have social media back then, and it was either through record stores, which eventually we'll get to talk about again, as far as, you know, disseminating information, but probably the radio station would have been the first place you would have heard that the Stones. Would it have been a rumor, do you think, or would it have been like, wow, the Stones are coming? Do you?
I can't. I should be able to remember this, but I can't remember. I remember queuing up for the tickets and things, but I can't remember how it was unveiled. I know it was in December, actually, wasn't it? It was in December, and the first, when it was announced it was going to happen, because my friend Grant, whose car we'll get on to later on, his wedding was like a week after that or something. It was announced, and I think it was early December or late November or something like that when it was first announced.
Queue? Founders Theatre, outside Founders Theatre, or
Founders Theatre, down Founders Theatre in Hamilton. So I thought I'd get there early, and I got there, I don't know, 5 or 6 in the morning or something like that. I'm probably 3rd or 4th in the queue.
Wow.
And we knew that obviously in Auckland there would be people queuing, and there'd be people queuing all over the place, and you didn't know you got in even at the first 3 or 4 how it would go, and if the phone lines would fall over or how it would work. But so it was quite nerve-wracking times there, but it was good fun. I remember for the second show when it went on sale, I went back to, I was in the queue and then made friends with everyone as you do while you're queuing. Then I went back, actually drove all the way back to my house and got a tape deck and came back with a tape deck and some tapes, and we played some Stones tunes while we were queuing for the rest of the morning until they opened at 9 o'clock, I guess.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That second show was always advertised. It was never a bonus show away. It was always advertised. I think they did.
I think so.
Yeah, because I remember going to both shows both days in a row.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was so. It was hard to explain, but it was so. I don't know. Was that the first tour they did with Sympathy for the Devil for a long time as well, eh? I think that was the first time they played it since '69.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, but I'm sure. I'm thinking back to Steel Wheels and that, but okay.
Oh,
right.
sorry. Oh, Steel Wheels, they played it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Steel Wheels would have been the first time in a long time they played that song.
Yeah.
Which tour did you prefer, the Steel Wheels or the Voodoo Lounge?
Well, I never saw the Steel Wheels tour and that, okay. And I love the Voodoo Lounge. I love the stage was great and that, and so I never saw. This is my first time with seeing the Stones. I've seen Jagger previously at the one time, but then to have all of the stuff, 4 Stones coming, was amazing. So
of course. Yeah. Whereabouts were you? I remember being on the bank. And we couldn't hear much. It was a bit disappointing. Were you being a Stones nut, like in the front row or 4th back? Or?
Well, I tried to buy tickets like that, and back then it was just you got what you were given kind of thing. So maybe there was floor seating on the flat, and then there was the stands maybe a bit cheaper. I remember it was around $120 a ticket or something like that for the floor. But yeah, the first show we ended up in like 5th row, pretty central. So that was quite good. And then for the second show, I thought, should we get better tickets? And once again, it was one of the first people in the queue, but we ended our seats were back by the mixing desk, so a long way back,
Which sometimes, though, the mixing desk can be the best sound, right? You get the best sound.
Yeah. It's better sound back there, arguably. And also, especially with big screens, more so these days, you get, a better view, arguably. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's probably the worst seat I've ever had at a Stones concert, actually. But
Well, considering you've been to over 50 plus Stones gigs, where's the best place for you to listen and hear a Stones gig?
Well, I everybody has a different opinion, and every show that you go to, there'll be someone who will complain about the sound where they were. The sound was terrible here or muddy there or whatever. So to me, the best sound is right at the front, though. You're hearing it off their monitors. I even remember, I think it was in Miami, the last show I went to. It's still technically the last Stone show currently. Mick actually can talking out of his microphone to the people at the front there, and so you can actually catch a little bit of that. It's like a one-off kind of thing. It's not something he does all the time, but if you're just there, it's just. The front's just, the view, you see the faces, the expressions, making look back in the crowd, and they're doing general looking around and doing their things. But when you're at the front, you get the eye contact and you get the more of the feeling, and you can see the mannerisms better in the faces and that. So it's definitely
Do you prefer indoor shows or outdoor shows, or just depends on the weather or the stadium is it a lot of variables?
I've been to 3 club shows, so they're obviously small indoor venues, and then I've been to a few stadium shows, which are and arena shows, I guess you could say, in Australia as well, like Rod Laver's an arena. So with a roof, and some of the stadiums also have a roof, you know. So they, whether it's got a roof or not really makes no difference to me. Obviously, on a wet day, it's nice to have a roof. So, yeah, I can't really say I prefer one over the other. The club shows, obviously, the better because it's more intimate and the set list varies a lot. You know, that's kind of, lots of people gripe about the Stones for all sorts of things. And I try not to, but the one thing I would change would be the set list a bit more. Having said that, when we get back to the Voodoo Lounge in Auckland, we were exceptionally lucky, you know, in hindsight.
So you must remember, you must know that set list by heart of the Voodoo Lounge.
I haven't, but I've got it beside me. But I do know that we had eight different songs the second night, which is just unheard of these days, you know. So let's just run through it.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I can. So they started with Not Fade Away. This is on the first night. Tumbling Dice, You Got Me Rocking, and we got Shattered on the first night. Then on the second night, in the Shattered spot, we got Live With Me. So two different songs, different time periods as well. And then after that, we got the next on the first night for the fifth song was All Down the Line, once again an older track. But then, in a similar time vein was Rocks Off. So, you know, two brilliant songs. Often I've gone through this list and I've gone, which song would you choose? You know, which night was better? But it's a tough one. And then we went into Sparks Will Fly, which was obviously a brand new song then off Voodoo Lounge, followed by The Mighty Satisfaction. And then the next night we had Angie and Sweet Virginia as acoustic songs on the main stage. There was no B stage. You know, more recent tours have had like a B stage, a second stage, and they tend to do some acoustic stuff there. So those were on that night were Angie and Sweet Virginia. And the following night they were swapped out for Beast of Burden and Wild Horses. You know, like fabulous, you know, Beast of Burden, Wild Horses, brilliant. And then on the first night, also in the 10th spot, we had Heartbreaker, and that was swapped out the following night for Rock in a Hard Place. Two very different ends of the Stones thing, but two brilliant songs, you know, two rockers really there. Brilliant stuff. And then into I Go Wild both nights, Miss You both nights in the intros, and Honky Tonk Women. And then Keith set in the first night he did Before They Make Me Run and Slipping Away, which was obviously a new song then. And then the second night he did Happy and the Worst. So once again, Keith 2 nights, 4 different songs, which is unheard of.
I remember the Worst because he it was actually quite funny. He had actually started the song, made a big mistake, and he said that's why they call it the Worst. And started. Do you remember that?
Not exactly, no. But,
I do remember that. But that's actually a very good, well-rounded set list. I can't fault that.
And then we're going to Give Me Shelter both nights. What was
the encore? What was the encore? If
there was the encore was Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Okay.
And so and on the first night, in the 17th spot, we got Give Me Shelter, and then the second night we got Monkey Man. You know, 2 great songs off Let It Bleed. You know, like Give Me Shelter, you kind of would have expected, but Monkey Man, like wow, you know. And Give Me Shelter is probably one of my favorites. It is one of my favorite Stones songs. But Monkey Man, how could you knock that if you had to choose between Give Me Shelter or Monkey Man live? You'd almost go Monkey Man because of the rarity, the difference of it.
Correct.
It's just so. It's such a dirty song, you know. You know, it's just brilliant.
I remember
that
show they did in Mount Eden about 3 years ago, which I didn't go to. The set list was pretty boring and pretty regimented. Hey,
wow!
It was sorry. It was very fan-friendly corporate. How does that sound? for sure. Yes, you're correct. And that's the way they've gone because let's be honest, they make their money from the Joe public. They don't make it from the super fans, you know. There's a few hundred of us who travel the world or whatever, or see multiple shows, or thousands who see multiple shows, but we're still always in the minority, you know. You go whatever city it is, Detroit or Melbourne or whatever, the crowd is 98% of them are the locals there, and they want satisfaction. They want Jumping Jack Flash, you know.
Good point, Richard. Good point.
Can you take in a sign to advertise something, Richard, or is that against the law?
You can do. People do all sorts of things, taking signs and flags.
Taking Play Winter on a sign? Play winter?
Yes, I have thought about it, but I also know that it's a waste of time because it's predetermined. They're not Bruce Springsteen. They don't, spontaneously change the set list. They might change it by stuffing up a song and playing something they shouldn't have in the wrong order or whatever. But no, they don't do requests. They're not karaoke.
Wow. I'm an idiot. I had the chance to see them free in Austin, Texas in 2005 in Zilker Park. It was free. Didn't even go. That Bob Wills is still the king, and amazing version.
Yeah,
but no. But
so why didn't you go?
I don't know. I really don't know. I just was big into record collecting at the time, and I thought that. I just kind of wanted to see them in '69 and in the Brian Jones years and the Mick Taylor years. I just was a bit of a purist, but they still sounded great. They still sounded good. I'm a bit of a snob, but my alter ego is a distinguished gentleman that hangs in small clubs, drinks cognac and whiskey and cigars. I'd rather see them in a small club. I'd love to see them in a small club.
Guess what? Guess what? This international disaster that we're having now might force a lot of these guys now to go to smaller gigs. Don't you think? Is it something on the agenda?
Possibly. I don't know. It's a dollars thing, but I watched a little bit the other day of Sammy Hagar, and he's doing his thing. I don't know if you've seen what Sammy Hagar's doing. You're a Van Halen man, so of course you are. With him and his band, Mike Mann, all in their own homes, all four of them, and they join the video together, and that's fantastic. And I dream that maybe the Stones could get their shit together and do something like that. I doubt it would happen, but maybe in the future,
Well, that was our question, because Carl and I, when we were talking about you having the opportunity to jump on today, that was one of the questions, Foxy, that we were going to ask you. We've been inundated with stars on social media. We've had Bruce Springsteen, we've had Richie Blackmore, we've had Roger Waters. Awesome.
Stonewood.
Hold on.
Wood, yeah.
Hold on. Present that so everyone can see.
Are you drinking a beer, a Stone's beer?
I am. Yeah, Stone and Wood. It's an Aussie beer, but I like it because of the name, That's all right.
I've been. You remember?
Cheers.
What was?
I thought you'd be drinking Beetlejuice.
You remember Dean Martin?
Yeah.
I'll be rolled while I was stoned myself.
Yeah. That's right. He said that on some introduction to the Stones. But So why haven't the Stones got together, or why hasn't Keith pulled out a guitar and set something up in front of the camera? Why hasn't Ronnie Wood done that?
That's a good question, but I guess they have other concerns, other worries, and their lives. Maybe they're definitely different to our lives, I'm sure. But at the moment, I guess the simple things in life are more important, and maybe they'll get around to that. Who knows? Sure. Maybe also with the Stones, you never know if there's some contracts and things, and they can't just do things like this.
True.
So I don't know. But But I'd like to think that maybe going forward, if this carries on, who knows? There's so many unknowns here. If this coronavirus stuff carries on, and maybe in 6 months' time they will say, "Hey, let's do something." Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
It'd be incredible to see them. Charlie Watts with just a stripped down drum kit with some brushes. The bass player,
chopsticks.
Forget his name, doing a stand up.
Daryl Jones.
Daryl. Maybe Keith on just a telly with a very small amp, and Ronnie on an acoustic, and just doing some stripped down Stones classics via the internet, obviously. Yeah, it'd be great. And Mick playing,
people would pay too. You could have it so that people had to pay as well. There's no reason they can't have some sort of pay-per-view type thing. If they wanted to and donate to charity or whatever.
They have so much talent. They have so much depth and such a massive song repertoire.
Yes,
they could do anything they like at their fingertips.
Yes, yeah. And maybe they're discussing it. Let's be honest, we're still in early days here. Sammy Hagar's kind of a one-man band, and he's got his boys, and they're tight, and they hang out together. The Stones are in different parts of the world, living quite different lifestyles to each other a little bit.
True.
Ronnie's got kids and stuff like that. So it's not just four guys. With the Stones, it's always a huge machine that needs to be, to get rolling. And maybe they can all do that. Mixed. Probably, I guess he's in France. He's in France or London, and Ronnie's in England, and Charlie will be in London as well, and Keith will be in America, and they'll just be. Who knows? So, we're on week 3 of this from our point of view, a bit longer maybe in some places or less in other places, and maybe they will. Maybe it's going to get discussed, Maybe Keith's busy with his lemon tree at the moment. I don't know, So,
the good thing about those guys, though, obviously, is, and I mean this respectfully, given their ages, they probably are taking self-quarantining seriously,
they should be. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so let's just, hope, obviously, that their family and their friends, because, when we consider we've got 1,000+ people with that disease here in our country, and if you look at the UK and around in America, it's like thousands of people.
Yes, absolutely. So no, exactly. They should be looking after themselves the most importantly, and they will be. And most of them generally will have, I imagine, they'll have an extended whānau with them as well. Kids and grandkids and things like that hanging with them and stuff. So they got to look after all those people. And
have you seen that? Have you seen that meme? That coronavirus meme with Keith Richards, where he's
without the mask.
No. There's a couple. There's a couple of. I've already seen a couple.
Yeah, there's several.
He's got he's got his shirt off. He's got a screwdriver, vodka and orange, and he's on a balcony. Yeah. And he's where the fuck is everybody? I mean, the world's the world's all dead.
Exactly. Yeah. I hadn't seen that one, but there's lots of the same one. I love the one with them all with the masks on, except for Keith. The only one without a mask.
And the other one, coronavirus. Didn't I smoke that in the 1970s?
Exactly. And there was another one of him in an astronaut gear and with Betty White or. Girls, and they were going up to space, because they're the only ones left on Earth.
I did a post on it on Facebook. That was hilarious.
Hey, before we carry on, guys, I just want to do a shout out to a couple of people in the chat. We've got Simon Williams in the chat, who's a regular host with us here, based in the UK. You might remember him, Foxy, when you were on, I think, our first show.
Hi, Simon.
Yep. And we got Sonia from Texas in the chat, and that's all in the chat so far. But it's always good to acknowledge the people in the chat. So those Keith Richard memes are fantastic, aren't they? There's a bit of truth to them, isn't there?
I remember when I remember in 1995, I think Real Groovy, or there was a local music magazine, and obviously. Big article on the Stones and the previous tour is 73, and they had this dub. I wish I'd kept it. And they said drugs that it was really funny. They said
I'm just pulling up my
Voodoo Lounge file book. Drugs that Keith Richards probably hasn't tried. Right, it was designated to drugs that Keith Richards hadn't tried, and it had rat poison, cyanide, glue.
So here's my from my Voodoo Lounge box file of newspaper cuttings, etc. from Auckland or from New Zealand during that period of time. So.
If Keith or Mick or anybody gets busted, do you think their lawyers could call on you for evidence to get them out of trouble because you've kept it all?
They're probably better people than me, but there's some classic photos,
I like Ron's nose.
That's from the Herald in '95.
Wow!
And then some photos from the concert.
Wow! How was the concert perceived overall, as far as who forget about the money, but overall sound quality and
I remember TV interviews and stuff afterwards, people complaining a little bit as they're leaving. But as I said, this depends what angle you're going from. You know, if they're interviewing people who are coming out the back gate at Western Springs because they're up the back and they couldn't see anything and they couldn't hear anything, it was too windy or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, New Zealand, unfortunately, and we've only just in the last 10 years got our act together with the rugby, but we've never been known as a concert place, you know. I mean, obviously that David Bowie concert was, you know, amazing. There was 120,000 people. That was a big deal. But and 80% of the people are there just to party anyway. They don't care. They just get drunk. But And getting back to just what you're saying about going to New Zealand and logistically, does it make sense from a business perspective because of the obviously the distance or the money? But in America, when they do a tour, a lot of big cities get left out. You know.
Yeah, well, there's so many of them. They can't do them all. Hence why last year they did, you know, however many shows, 15 odd shows in America. And this year they were going back to do some similar number in completely different cities. You know.
Yeah,
and not necessarily smaller, lesser cities. Some of them would say they are, but there were still lots of, you know, there's still big cities on the list this year, you know. So
yeah. I don't know what happened to Andrew. Can you see Andrew?
Yeah, no, I can't see him. He said he might drop out, but he would come back. He wasn't dumping us. He still loved us, so you know.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. It's a bit. I wonder if the internet's overloaded with everybody at home, or it's just.
I guess so. Yeah.
Are you working from home? Are you an essential worker?
I am, and yes, I am working. My boss might be watching. Yes, I'm working very studiously from home, Carl. Just like you.
I saw you before we went live, and you were diligently doing that map. I remember. Remember?
Yeah, that's right. Good boy.
Yeah.
Checks in the mail. So no, but I do like that I can, you know, maybe have a drink while I'm working and stuff like that, and you know, sometimes even I wait till afternoon, you know, to do that. So it's
yeah. Oh no,
life's
that's good.
very different. But
I got the shock of my life when Andrew said yesterday about the show, and he said, "Oh, this is great because it coincides with the 25th anniversary," and I was at the show, and I'm like, "Are you sure it's 25 years ago?" Because that's making me sound old.
Yeah, it is. It's a long time ago now, isn't it? You don't kind of think of it as being that long ago, but yeah.
Sorry.
Carry on.
Sorry. I was probably. I'm not sure if I'd just left high school or still in the seventh form, or we just went round with a gang of friends from school in a couple of cars. It's all quite juvenile. Part of me kind of wished I'd taken your route, which was the more serious Stones fan, where you kind of had a plan, you know. Yeah. You got a good ticket, got a good spot, and then you just kind of really enjoyed the show. Because when you have a whole gang of people, you at the mercy of what a ringleader wants to do, you know.
What did I miss?
Yeah. So anyway, but it's still an experience.
What did I miss?
Is that Andrew's back?
Yeah,
he's
unfortunately,
back.
Unfortunately, it may happen. So you guys
can see him, can't hear him.
Can you hear me, Richard?
Richard? Can you hear him?
Yeah, and I can hear you. Yeah.
So, but you can't.
Can you hear Andrew?
Carl.
Yes, I can hear Andrew, and I can hear Carl. I can hear you both, and I can see you both.
But Carl can't hear me. Okay, you'll have to come back out.
Carl can't hear you. Yeah.
So, Carl, you have to come out and come in. Sorry.
Should I go back in?
Yes, go out, go back in as the instructions from the boss, from the governor.
Yeah, okay. All right. From the producer and the director.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's something that we can't control, which is a bummer because it tends to get in the way of creative thinking, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. When you've got something on your on the tip of your tongue and you want to get it out, and normally it's okay. So, we caught him having a beer.
Richard inspired me.
Oh, good.
Hey,
well, I thought you already were having one.
No, I was. Hey, so
exactly.
Richard, so Keith's given up drugs, booze, and now cigarettes.
Yeah, I think so. I think I read that. Yes, that's correct.
All right. Golly, what's the world coming to?
When we see this, he'll be fat.
What happened to the stock market on Wall Street with the tobacco companies, the booze companies, and the pharmaceuticals?
Exactly.
The stocks dropped down.
Hey, David.
So,
Hey, I was talking to Andrew about this briefly this morning, I think, just real briefly. Obviously, the last album they did was a blues album. Obviously, they love the blues. Obviously, they've always had a bit of a soft spot for country. Obviously, they're not getting any younger. Do you think that might put out a little bit of a country album?
I think the blues album was kind of just a byproduct and kind of random and a surprise and was never the plan, as you do know the story, I'm sure. So unless Keith walks in the room and says, hey, we need to warm the room up, as he says, and let's play some country numbers, we're not going to sit down and write an album of Dead Flowers songs or something, so. But it's not to say that the new album won't have a country, a song with a country sort of vibe to it.
Oh, do they have a new album in the works, do they?
Yeah, well, since 2005 was the last album pretty much, so 15 odd years. So, there'll be something coming.
Oh, so
we don't know. They keep working on it. They've done bits and pieces, and you hear of them being in the studio, and they're doing this and that. And then you hear other stories. A friend of mine was at a conference, I guess, last year or early this year, I can't remember, with Don Was, who's pretty much the man behind the desk with the Stones. And he said, they have lots of stuff, but don't expect anything soon, So as in, there's a lot more work to do to finish it off. And if we got it this Christmas, but we've been thinking about, wondering, hoping for a long time. So lots of people, and I've got a few friends who pretty much won't go to another Stones concert until there's a new album because they want to hear some new songs. And even then they'll get one, maybe two songs if they're lucky,
Yeah.
So new songs.
Because they've got enough in their catalogue to do some nice country versions of all their good songs. Country honk. Dead Flowers, obviously. Dear Doctor is a great song, often overlooked.
I love Dear Doctor.
Quarter of Exile had a country vibe.
Factory Girl.
Factory Girl, Waiting on a Friend had a bit of a country vibe.
I've got
going through all the red lights and I saw Jesus.
Oh, that's Far Away Eyes.
Far Away. Some girls.
Yeah. And the preacher said,
I don't know why people hate that song. I love it. When I first heard it, I knew that he was taking the piss.
Who hates it? No one.
A lot of people hate it, but I knew that Mick was taking the piss when he was singing that song, and that's great.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
He's done that. He does that a lot. There's definitely enough repertoire. Because Ron's no slouch on the pedal steel.
Oh shit! No,
he's obviously very good.
He's world class, mate.
Yeah, and Mick can pull off any country tune. I think that'd be a great opportunity for them to do something like that. I would buy it.
So would I. I'd buy anything new from the Stones.
Because what they could do is do a Western swing approach too, where they just have a fiddle come out of nowhere, nice and relaxed.
Funny you should say that as well. I just pulled out 3 CDs that I got. These are cover albums of other artists doing Rolling Stones songs. So this one here is all songs done in a country feel. Even some of them are not necessarily country songs. So we Honky Tonk Women, which you can understand. Painted Black by Tracy Lawrence, who's a big country artist, supposedly. Ruby Tuesday, The Last Time, Jack Flash, Wild Horses, Brown Sugar, Beast of Burden as a country tune. No Expectations, As Time Is On My Side. So we have that, and then you mentioned picking. Well, we've got this one here, which is all banjos and bits and pieces like that. Once again, you got Honky Tonk Woman, Paint It Black, Jumping Jack Flash, Wild Horses, Start Me Up. Can you imagine that? Satisfaction, Can't Always Get, Mother's Little Helper. That's a great song.
Well, Start Me Up started out as a bit of a reggae song initially.
Yeah, well, a lot of I guess because it's from the earlier sessions, So
75.
And then I've got a reggae one here as well. So this is all reggae artists doing Toots and the Maytals, Gregory Isaacs.
I've heard about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I heard about that.
This is good too. This is really good, you know. So.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, that would be fantastic if they considered doing that. My
I'm just
personal.
going to go and see if that's on Spotify.
Richard, do you have any international clout where you can send a message to maybe some of their A&R men to suggest that?
Well, there are various ways of doing things like this. I guess, you know, the easiest way is you can probably relatively get a message to someone like Chuck Lavelle, who's probably, in terms of the playing live stuff, is, you know, he's the one who brings the songbook along to rehearsals and suggests maybe we play this unless, you know, Mick or Keith or Ronnie suggests something or whatever. And so there are various ways, and, you know, a lot of fans are in touch with people like Bernard Fowler and Tim Rees, who are in the support band, so they can suggest things, but I don't think they have a lot of sway, and that's not their thing to go and, hey, Mick, why don't we play blah, you know? So it's
Does
really,
Mick and Keith still have quite a vice grip on all the decision making? Obviously, the Glimmers love, you know, that's their power base.
I would say on the big stuff, you know, the contracts and that, I definitely Mick, Keith, and Charlie and Ronnie probably to a fractionally less extent. I don't know how this works. You know, we'll all have a lot of say on that, and a lot of other things. I think I get the feeling that a lot of it's left to Mick, you know, and and on some of the stuff like the merchandise stuff is generally left to Mick and Charlie. So they kind of look through all the designs, you know, all the poster designs and the litho and the shirts go to Mick and Charlie, and they approve it or not, you know.
Wow.
So
how's Charlie doing? Obviously, he's not necessarily one of the oldest, but he looks the oldest. He looked old 50 years ago.
Well, he is the oldest, yeah. But
oh yes.
Yeah,
sorry, I keep thinking of Bill Wyman. Bill Wyman's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bill. Well, I keep forgetting that he's a Rolling Stone, or was, but that's another story. But yeah, no. Charlie's, you know, he does what he does, and he'd happily, as we say each time, he would have happily retired years and years and years ago, you know, but he doesn't want to be the guy who says to Keith, no, I'm not coming on the road, you know. So
well, that'd be the end. It
would be. It would have to be of the Rolling Stones, you know. They might become, you know, the Rolling Stones and Adam Lambert on drums or something. Who knows, you know?
I don't think there's a drummer. I don't think there's a drummer on live that can replicate another good drummer. It's a hard. It's very personable.
You know what? I think the Stones would still continue if Charlie pulled the plug. I think the other three guys. I think they'd still continue.
Yeah, I don't know if Keith would want to, and who knows? You know, Mick's ego's pretty big, so. And the good thing, he keeps having children. Well, he hasn't had any for a couple of years, but, you know, he possibly will.
Richard,
I mean, he needs to keep working. Yep.
Those two guys, the Glimmer twins, one of them wants to die a Rolling Stone first, but not obviously is going to volunteer to be the first one to go, if you understand. So one of those guys, when they pass away as a Rolling Stone, will be the one that's called it quits. Sorry to be morbid, but that's my theory.
The only way out of the Stones is in a box, you know. So
yeah, I think they've made a pact. I think they've made a pact between the two of them that this band's over when one of us goes.
Yeah, I know that Keith has said before, though, you know, people ask him when are you stopping and when are you retiring and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, no one knows how far you can go on this rock and roll journey. We're leading it, so we'll just keep going, you know. And they've always previously said the old guy, the blues guys are in their 80s and they're getting close to that now, but... So
I think your theory that you said on a earlier show with us, I think that rings true. You know, I think you said that Mick Jagger wants to be the first guy to be a rock and roller and still performing when he's 80 and have the band, the Stones, going for 60 years. You know, I think there's some truth in that.
Yeah, I think that's probably more a Keith thing, but yeah, definitely, I think they want to keep it going. Why not? They have fun, you know. They make money, but it's not all about the money. That's certainly a huge factor. But it's, you know, they enjoy what they do, enjoy playing with each other. They love the reaction from the crowd. So it's a buzz, you know. Why wouldn't you stop? Why would you want to stop, you know? If you can keep doing it, and it's on their terms too, you know. Right, we're going to do 15 shows this year, and then we'll have the other, 10 months off, you know.
Well, where the hell were you supposed to be? You're supposed to be some bloody where, aren't you? Aren't you supposed to be in Canada?
Yeah, heading to Canada. I think I can't even. I ripped up my calendar of when all the dates and my flights and all that were scheduled, but I think it was in. Was it early May? I don't even know now. It's irrelevant, and to be honest, it's unimportant now. You know, there's much bigger things in the world than the Rolling Stones and the tour and I want to see them again, and I'm dying to see them, and I'd love to see them, but there's other things. You know, stay the fuck at home is the most important thing. You know, and much more important than going to see these guys play. And if we don't see them again, well. That could happen, you know, and that could happen for a lot of things, you know, not just the bands, you know, there could be lots of other things. Life going back to normal, it's going to be a new normal, you know. A handshake's going to be part of everyday business again. Who knows, you know?
Andrea Travels is in the chat saying touring is what keeps them alive. So we're going to agree with that.
Yes, it is what keeps them alive and keeps them going, especially, you know, I think so. Yeah, wise woman. And
when they were 19, 20, 21, Brian Jones era blues purists, blues lovers, their idols were in their 40s, 50s, 60s already.
Good point.
And they wanted to emulate not necessarily that lifestyle, but that longevity.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. They were presented with guys that were still performing in old age and still doing well, and they must have thought early on, if we do this well and smart, we could be like that too.
What am I saying? What am I saying here with this metaphor?
Start me up.
No.
Shine a light.
Shine a light.
No. Keep the flame alive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's you know, because they got basically harassed by all these mainly liberal American talk show. So is this the last tour? Is this the last tour? You're in your mid-30s now. You know what's going on? You know the punk scene's going big now, and you guys are fossils. They came back with Some Girls and kicked everybody's ass.
Yeah, exactly, and followed it up with "Start Me Up," you know.
Don't forget they came back and kicked people's asses with Emotional Rescue too. That's an underrated album.
Yeah. Oh, isn't it just? Yeah.
Oh, let me go.
Little Indian Girl.
Yeah.
There's lots of great songs on it.
Yeah. That was actually that was a sleeper, a bit like Goat's Head Soup, a bit of a sleeper album.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of got lost between the Some Girls to Tattoo You.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, exactly. Along with It's Only Rock and Roll, you could argue as well. Then if you put that in with Goat's Head Soup, you know, it's just got breezed over from Exile's obviously a hard gig to follow, you know. So.
So
back to the Voodoo Lounge tour. What else can we talk about? The Voodoo Lounge. 25 years ago, we were in Western Springs, and I guess the Stones were on stage by now. You know, so
okay. So I want you to elaborate a little bit more on the news broadcasts that you were a part of. So you've been interviewed by the news reporter, and you're
the lovely Angela Deal.
That's right, and you're saying that you were fed wrong information by people. So obviously they didn't want the fans to know where to find them, where to go. They were you know, there was definitely.
I can't quite remember how we got onto it, but via a process of elimination. I think also talking to different people, maybe a little bit of media talking. I remember talking also to the lady who ran the Paul Dainty office here in Auckland and stuff, and getting tidbits about what day they might come. And so basically, I took time off work or whatever it was, it was Easter, wasn't it already? Was it Good Friday? I can't remember how fell the dates, but possibly Good Friday or whatever. So I was off work from Hamilton. I was staying with my then best friend in Auckland at his house, And basically, we kind of narrowed it down a bit at the airport, and so we drove. We spent all day at the airport, or we went there a couple of times, and we were in the main part of it, and you could look up on the board and see when the flights were coming in, and all the flights are a typical flight is 2 letters and 3 numbers, NZ 1, 2, 3, whatever is the normal flight. And then we knew they were coming from Australia, and then up on the flight board came this flight QF 8854. I remember it, 25 years later, the flight number, and it had, rather than going to gates 1 to 10 or whatever, had gate 52, I think, or something like that, which was a piece of tarmac in the middle of nowhere, And so that's the Stones. And we knew already the stage was there because it was an Antonov, which was the biggest plane in the world, Russian plane, had brought the stage and stuff there. So there was an Antonov parked somewhere there. So that was like the Stones stage plane. So we knew the Stones were coming. And then the QF 8854 said, arriving at 9 o'clock at night or whenever it was, 8 o'clock at night or something. And then we narrowed all that stuff down pretty well. But then it was a matter of where they were coming to come out. We didn't expect them to come through normal customs like you and I would come, and that they would go somewhere different. And you'd talk to, this is where the misinformation came from a bit. Some people say, oh, no, they'll come through here. Oh, they're going to go there. They're going to do this, they're going to do that. And then it became clear that they were coming through Checkpoint Charlie. And so a couple of sources said, oh, they're coming through Checkpoint Charlie. And like, where the hell is that, And so we're cruising around the airport, and there's different gates off the tarmac, and you go and ask someone at the gate, and is this Checkpoint Charlie? And they look at you and go, no, and stuff like that. And so we weren't quite sure. And then like a limousine turned up or whatever. They were the Toyota Previas, I think. So, big sliding door, sort of blacked out thing pulled up with a dude in a suit, and a chauffeur, and he stopped at this place, and we went and started talking to him, and he thought we were with the band or something at first, so he was quite chatty, and then he realised we were fans, so he shut up. But he'd already given enough info that this is obviously where the boys were coming out, so he was waiting to be let into the tarmac. So basically we hung out there, the 2 of us, and a few other people arrived. Might have been 10 of us there, and the TV crew turned up as well because it's a big deal. The Stones are arriving, first time in 22 years. Wow! And so they were filming. There's footage I've got of them. Keith walking down the ladder, the steps off the plane, and things like that. So they had better access. They got into the tarmac, I guess, or better views. So we didn't actually see them get off the plane, but we were there, and the cars came out, and we were there, and we were waving through these. They had black tinted windows. I can't recall if someone had their window down a little bit. I think they did. Mick or Keith or something had their window down a bit, and so we knew where they were staying, and which was the Regent Hotel, now the Stamford Plaza in town. And so we hopped in my car, and the plan was we weren't sure if we should drive beside them, try and get on the motorway and drive beside them in my car, which was all painted out, had the Voodoo Lounge funny man on the roof, had the tongue on the door.
Have you got a photograph? Have you got a photograph of the official tour limousines that you can?
No,
I'll find it, Richard. I'll find it. I'll find
just
it.
grab the photo off my Facebook page,
Yeah. Okay. So you keep talking.
So we decided, should we try and drive beside them? What's the point of that? And then we thought, no, we take a couple of shortcuts and get to the hotel before them so we can actually see them walk in. So my mate who lived in Auckland, and I didn't really know Auckland at all then, and so he said, go this way, go that way. So we're going along, we're speeding, of course, because I was super excited. We want to get to the hotel before the Stones do. Next one. And so, that's me.
So that's a young... That's a young, handsome Richard Fox. Okay, so you carry on talking, mate. I'm showing the pictures.
Okay, cool. And so then I got pulled over by the cops, and I told him, oh, mate, just told him the story. I said, just find me whatever you want, because I didn't know how much it was going to be, but just let me go. I need to go now. And he's, no. So he filled out all the forms. I've got the ticket actually on display because it's kind of a memento of my Stones journey. So it's like a $50 speeding ticket or something like that. And finally let us go. And so we, drove carefully around the corner in the beautiful $20 Mitzi Mirage, and then stepped on it again. And we pulled up to the hotel, and once again in town there's no car parking, so we just parked illegally on the side of the road and hopped out of the car. And there was like, I don't know, quite a few fans, 50 people maybe outside the hotel, and everyone goes, oh, they've just arrived. You've just missed them by a couple of minutes. So
there's the official Rolling Stone tour limo.
Tour limo, yeah. So we didn't actually get. Yeah, it was heartbreaking. Yeah, so we didn't get to see them that day at all. But we got there in time actually because the van came, so I got to see Lisa, Daryl, Bernard, all those guys going into the hotel. So I think I got Lisa's autograph or talked to her or a photo with her or something that night. So yeah, so that was that, and then the next couple of days, my mission in life was to hang around outside the hotel. I was never brave enough to go inside. It didn't seem the right thing to do. Then these days, you're better off to go into the hotel and look the part and just sit down like a normal guest than you are to hang around outside as a general rule of thumb. You know?
Okay, so have a briefcase, put a suit on.
Yeah, have a briefcase and a collar and a tie, and look professional rather than a Stones fan and ripped jeans and a dirty old t-shirt.
When did you when you saw Charlie, was that the same time frame?
Yeah, same. So that was, I think, the next day maybe it was. We're just loitering around outside the front door, and security would move you, and then you'd kind of slowly push your way back towards the door. This group of people, and then they'd move you again. Anyway, I was outside the door near the concierge's desk there, and one of the concierges came out and talked to someone else, to one of the drivers. They had the dedicated drivers there 24/7, and said, Charlie needs to go to the dentist, so you can take him to the dentist or whatever. And so I overheard that little conversation. Then an hour later, Charlie came out or whatever, or as you might have seen the photos anyway, came out and was hopping in the car, and there's 3 or 4 of us there. I went up and asked him for an autograph. Hey, Charlie, can I have an autograph or something nicely? And I said, good luck with the dentist. And there's some photos of him with a puzzle look going, looking at me like this. How do you know? And I go, I just heard something, whatever, So he wasn't impressed that I knew that he was going to the dentist. But
looking back hypothetically, if everything went to your plan, from driving to the airport to the motel to the concert, what could you have seen potentially?
Well, I was just hoping to actually physically see them arrive into the hotel, walk in out of the front door and go in. I don't even know if they went in the front door. So yeah, so that was Charlie going.
Did you see them coming down off the ladder off the plane?
No, we couldn't see that.
Okay.
So on day one we saw no Stones. Okay, well I think there was a little bit of window down. We might have seen a bit of Jagger here, in the limo as it drove past us. Yeah, that's the next day with Charlie and doing the autograph. That's before I said about the dentist. When there's a couple more photos of him looking at me puzzled. Yeah. So anyway, so that was that day, and then the next morning, probably maybe was it the day of the show, or if there's a day in between, I forget the timeline exactly. But anyway, I went back to the hotel at like 8 o'clock in the morning, but thinking they'll be asleep or whatever. And there was 2 guys from Christchurch who I just met on the street, obviously Stones fans. And we were across the road from the hotel, and you're looking up this tall building, 8 stories high. It's one of the taller buildings in Auckland. And looking up this hotel, and knew that they'd be at the top there, and knew that they'd have a room with a balcony. And on the second to top floor, there was this Rastafarian coloured type scarf hanging over the handrail. With the scarf hanging over it. And we go, that's got to be Keith's room. Who else in a 5-star hotel leaves any of their shit outside? And especially a scarf looking, it just yelled Keith Richards. And anyway, so we're just standing there, me and these 2 guys talking, and next minute we see this little bit of black hair over the top of the handrail, walking past. And so the 3 of us across the road at like 8 in the morning or 9, we go, Keith! And he comes across. I think I've got photos of it with my old camera, so he's a dot, but no shirt on, gives us a big 2-fisted wave and bump and smile and, like that. And he was happy to see us, and then he disappeared back inside, and that kind of made our day. So I'd seen Keith Richards for the first time at that time, so that was pretty cool. And then later on, I guess they had a rehearsal day, so maybe it must have been a rehearsal day, or whatever. I remember being at the hotel in the afternoon, and Mick came out of the garage, and so he had the car window down on the garage, coming out of the garage, so you could see him a little bit through the windscreen. And I tried to take some photos there, and then he drove out and had the window down a few inches, so he could wave a little bit at people as he went out went to Western Springs for the sound check. So they were kind of my main Stones experiences that day. I think Chuck Lavelle there in one evening, Chuck Lavelle came out and went for a walk with his wife to dinner. Bernard came out, and I got a photo of Bernard. Talked to him a little bit. Bernard Fowler. So he's the black
vocalist.
backup singer who's been with him since the late
Stop Bernard Jenkins.
Steel Wheels. Yeah. So those were kind of the main experiences, and you're hoping that you'll see more, and you hear other people. I went in the hotel today, I hopped in the lift, and Ronnie was in the lift, or whatever. All these stories, and you just feed off it. And I was 20 something and young. This is the first time I've done anything like this in my life, and it was just massive hype. And I remember actually Women's Weekly did an article on me, or on the event, and they interviewed me. They didn't use any pictures of me, but they used some of my quotes and things or whatever. So I've probably got that in this box here.
So the it was a big deal even for the Women's Weekly.
Yeah, Women's Weekly or Women's Day, one of those. Women's Weekly, I guess it was, because Women's Day's Aussie, isn't it? More so. And so they were there one afternoon taking photos and asking questions and bits and pieces. So here it is here. So this is the page from the magazine back in the day. The following week or whatever. Women's Day, in fact, it was. Yep. And there as well. So there's Patty going to, maybe not that day, Patty taking the girls out.
Oh, wow.
For a walk. And one day she came out with them and they're all dressed up, and I asked if I could take a photo, and she said no, and I respected that, of course. And they were off to church that morning. It was a Sunday morning. And there's Keith on the balcony.
Wow.
So... And Charlie shopping for postcards or something by the looks of things.
So can I ask you something, Richard?
And here's Charlie coming back from the dentist, actually, outside the dentist.
What would a 20-something Stone fan today say if he saw one of the Stones' partners or wives walking out with their children or grandchildren? Would that guy ask, could I take a photo?
I don't know. Some people wouldn't care because they're partners. Other people would just think it was rude and should leave them alone. Other people would be quite pushy and say, "Yeah, I want a photo with you." And so I can't speak for everyone, of course. So everyone's different, and partly their cultures would dictate how they behave as well. I think in an international world that we live in these days.
Oh, well, good on you for asking. That's
for sure.
That's the Kiwi way. Can I take a photo?
Yeah, I wanted to be relatively respectful. I didn't want to just walk up to them. I was standing on the steps of the hotel waiting for a car to pick them up, and I wanted to cross, and I didn't want to. And people don't want photos of their kids taken, but I just wanted. It was all new to me to be around a Stone like that, and it was would I do it today? Of course I wouldn't. It's like whatever. I've kind of moved on from that whole thing. Quite a bit, generally speaking.
Hey, so
I had a friend. Sorry.
Do the Stones have a meet and greet with fans like some of these other bands do, Rich? If you're lucky.
Well, there's two ways. They have a meet and greet, an official meet and greet that you can pay $25,000 for. Okay. So as opposed to, other people will charge you $1,000 or a couple of $1,000s or whatever. I don't know what Madonna charges, but I'm sure it's not $25,000. So, and once again, I don't know how many people take it up. And there are all sorts of things with those. You can't take photos, it might only last a minute or two. It's not like you get to sit down and have a cup of tea with them, or shepherd's pie. And then there are other people who are very lucky who get to win a competition, like Andreas travels there and actually get to meet the Stones and hang out with the Stones briefly. And once again, it's quite a short experience, but get to meet each one and have a photo taken with the whole band. So yeah, there are things like that. And then there are other people who know people and before the show get to go backstage, and if the right person can get a brief, once again, 30-second intro, or probably even less really in real time, 20 seconds of, hi, here's Mick, Keith, Charlie, blah, blah, how are you doing? How's your day? That's it. See you later. No photos. Or the band will take the photos. We'll send you the photos in a couple of months' time, Who
were the opening acts for the Stones on the Voodoo Lounge tour?
Well, we had the Exponents. So, New Zealand's... one of New Zealand's premier bands at the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That they would have got the band, the crowd going pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. I think much better than who Mick had. Who did Mick have for 88? Did he have? I keep on saying Adija, but I can't remember who it was. It was someone that wasn't really a Stones thing, or was it Herbs even maybe? I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the exponents were, a relatively good choice,
Yeah.
What's all that noise? What's Carl up to?
It's his bloody phone, so I don't know what he's doing, but Carl, your phone's making some... Yeah.
I'll put the headphones back in.
Yeah, good man. So the exponents opened up the act. So what time did they hit the stage? Can you remember? What time, how long did they play for?
I don't recall, but I guess it was 8 o'clock or something, or 8:30, and would be a standard kind of 50 minutes, and then, another half an hour, 40 minutes, and the Stones, would 8:30, 9 o'clock or something, I guess, maybe. Probably 8:30, because there'll be a curfew, sound curfew. I think 10:30 is kind of the Western Springs curfew, so they were probably on stage by 8:30, 8:15 even. So the exponents might have been on stage at 7. If I find a ticket, which I've got somewhere over here, I can I've probably got the times on it, or I've got some. Actually, I saw something else in the box file. If I can consult this here, we have a map of Western Springs and the gates, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go, gentlemen. Gates open 5 p.m. Support band 7 p.m. Rolling Stones 8 p.m. Okay. So that's the guts on all of that stuff.
That's awesome.
So on stage at 8. But prior to that, this was my first time seeing the Stones, it was all seated on the field rather than GA, which kind of sucks, but that's just the way it is in New Zealand for lots of bands, not for all of them. And so was the merchandise, which is obviously one of my big things. So I was so excited to actually be able to go and buy something rather than the odd T-shirt from Trax or Real Groovy or something like that. I was actually going to be able to go and buy some real stuff. And so I bought this what I'm wearing today. I bought on that first concert night in '95 here at Western Springs, and I've still got it today, and it still fits. So so I bought a ton of merchandise that day. Maybe a small amount compared to what I might buy these days, but it was still lots of T-shirts and all sorts of weird things as well. They had back then some, and I'm not going to model it all, but some really sexy track pants, which is kind of standard fare for back in the day. The Stones logos on a set of track pants and stuff, and even a pair of shorts. I even had Voodoo Lounge shorts back then, so you could buy at the concert.
Wow.
And then and each country back then had an individual T-shirt. And so I've still got this one here, still in the bag, brand new, never been worn, and it's the Mighty New Zealand Tongue T-shirt on there. The dates for Down Under. So
was that the tour when they inherited a cat?
Yeah. Well, that's how I think when they were recording the album or whatever, and when Keith had a cat come and hang out in his room or whatever, wherever they were staying or something, and so and he named him Voodoo, and then the room became the Voodoo Lounge because the cat was hanging in Keith's room. So I think that's pretty much how the name came about from memory.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Where's Andrew?
I don't know. He's gone away again. A few technicalities tonight for everyone.
Crazy. No. I'll have to unfortunately bow out in about 10 minutes because
okay.
The problem I have is I've got to use the headphones to stop the clicking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I can't charge the phone because there's only one inlet. So
okay.
So basically get about an hour's worth of juice out of a fully charged phone for these shows. So it's starting to wane a little bit, but do you know if there's any new releases from the Vault? That's what I wanted to ask you. Anything?
The only thing that there's still albums that haven't been released that could be released because they were pay-per-views and they've kind of got the guts of stuff there that they could do relatively easy. So, but there's been no really hot gossip on any of that. The big story is that Goat's Head Soup is going to be re-released in some sort of deluxe format. So we hope with bonus tracks. That's kind of the thing we're hanging out for the most now. And so who knows what that'll entail. There's the bootleg experts amongst the Stones community have a whole long list of songs that could fit into that list of a bonus CD. There's talk that there could be a live CD accompanying it. There could be extended versions of Winter or something like that, which would be fantastic, or whatever. So we don't know, but it's coming. They've just released a whole lot of half-speed mastered vinyl LPs and everything from the 70s onward, except they haven't included Sticky Fingers in Exile because they've already been done, and they haven't included Goat's Head Soup for a mysterious reason, and that reason will be because it's going to be released as part of the a super deluxe process at some stage, hopefully sooner rather than later. But at the moment, I guess not much new music is coming out. I don't know.
What about with your collecting, with obviously the Trade Me being pretty much restrictive, obviously eBay being a bit more open? Are you still doing a bit of eBay, or?
I'm doing a bit of eBay. Yeah, Trade Me is more restricted. So lots of people ask. I've seen a few posts on the internet in the last few days on Facebook. What's the first thing you're going to do when we get out of lockdown? Lots of people go for a coffee or a haircut or whatever. My first thing is go to the post office. I have a pile of stuff that is mounting up that I need to send overseas, and the lack of a post office, I can receive stuff, but sending stuff is impossible. Well, it's difficult. You need to jump through a lot of hoops to do that. So I have a whole lot of stuff, and it's costing me money because I have people who want to buy stuff, and I can't really take their money or I can't send them stuff.
So basically, eBay is still actively trading in America.
Yeah, eBay's all go. Yeah, no, there's no issues with eBay. So I've been buying stuff on eBay and getting it sent to friends' places in America and stuff. So or elsewhere in the world.
Any particular thing that you want receiving that is that you don't mind telling us that you're extremely excited about and you're losing sleep over?
None of it that I'm losing sleep over at the moment. I guess there's a box set of CDs that came out in the 80s which I'd never ever bought at the time. It was never really available here. Then previously it's always been horrendously expensive on eBay, but I've got a set for like $100 recently. So I've got that. I've got a few records that are on order in terms of they are due for release, where those releases are delayed. So Satisfaction, I think, as a 12-inch on green vinyl and bits and pieces. So there's certain things. I've got some stuff, sets of socks actually, of all things, sitting at a
ready for the
winter. Happy socks. Yeah, not to be worn.
Is this from
socks.
Your Facebook? Is this from your Facebook trading group, Richard?
No, it's not. It's just It's arguably it's a Belgian guy sent me a link to where I could get them on sale in Europe, and so I ordered them, and I don't think they were going to paste out outside of Europe, so I got them sent to a friend in Holland. So they're sitting with a mate at his place in Holland, and when it's safe to send them, I'll get him to send them here. So I have a few stockpiles around the world of stuff currently.
When you cut out, Andrew, I was we're just talking about Trade Me being shut down, but eBay still all go. So eBay internationally, but I don't think you can get anything delivered in New Zealand because of lockdown. I'm pretty sure I'm correct there.
I've had letters come from internally. So I think I'm not sure where they're stockpiling the parcels. I think international parcels will get to us. They're just going to be slower,
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So the posties are working.
They are delivering mail, yes, but I can't walk into a post office and post a parcel. I can, in theory, go to a courier depot and get them to take it from there.
What's Carl doing?
Yeah.
I was just letting Richard know that happens every time there, Andrew. Unfortunately, I have to bow out soon because the problem I have is I've charged my phone up 100% and I have to use the headphones for it to be crystal clear. If I try to charge the phone with, you get that clicking noise. So unfortunately, the juice starts to run out. So I'm probably about 20%. So maybe I have about 10 minutes worth of airtime left. Then I'll have to. Yeah,
that's fine. That's good. We've done an hour and 10.
Mick Jagger and 69 till get yours. This is our last one. We got to go.
Yeah. This is
they're going to Street Fighting Man.
And we've got Dave in the chat too. So if I haven't said a shout out to Dave, He's a Stones nut in the UK, Richard, and he's asking a question here. Richard, have you got any of the Rolling Stones fan magazines from the 1960s? How many is there, and are they any good?
Here they are. So this is the whole set. There's 30 of them.
Holy
30
shit.
in total.
Yeah.
And so I had the whole set there. I know that number 1 has been reprinted. I don't know how many have been reprinted. These are all original, but I have seen a reprinted number 1. But I don't think they've reprinted the rest. So yeah, so that's the whole set there. Highly sought after.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What's the price on that set?
1 and 9. You mean to buy them now or to buy them in?
The whole set today.
Probably, $1,000 or something, I guess.
Easy.
It's kind of the. Yeah,
Easy.
I think Bill Wyman has them. Bill Wyman has sold them in the past, and maybe more than that. But individually, you can pick them up for reasonable prices. I guess depends on your definition of reasonable. But if you have to buy 30 of them individually, it starts to add up. So
and you wear Rolling Stone stuff around your wrist, do you? All the time?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, wristbands. So yeah. So I got most of it, going back to Hamilton. Most of these I got off Mike McCarthy from behind McDonald's in the record shop there. So I used to.
Do you wear one of these?
Handcuffs?
No, I don't. I'm a Jagger fan.
Handcuffs from Toronto via Keith Richards and the heroin bust.
Yep, awesome.
Wow. Oh, is that right? Mike's a good friend of ours. He's a great guy. And Kerry Kostanich and Andrew and I, we're mutual friend there, Cookie. But Mike and Kerry are the two big guys. Kerry Kostanich, by the way, saw the Stones in New Zealand in '64. Yes. Did he tell you the story? 65. Okay. Yeah. I said, what was it like? Wow. He said it was amazing, but it was just a gush of noise.
Yeah. What's he doing these days? Where is he? How is he?
I wouldn't have a clue. I wouldn't. I know that Mike McCarthy. The last time I saw Mike McCarthy was at the Countdown, and he'd moved to Tyrol.
Ty Happy.
That's it. Yeah. Ty Happy. Yeah. 20 minutes south of Taupo, and
more than that, but I know exactly where Ty Happy. Yeah, for sure. I've seen him on Facebook, on eBay or something. And Cookie, though, you were going to talk to him because you see him, don't you, Andrew? Or
yeah. Honestly, but I haven't seen him since we've spoken last. So when I do see him, I'll definitely, when I see him, I'll because I've always got my phone and I've got your contact details. But I used to see him push biking to work in the mornings when he was working at. I still think he's at the laundry at the hospital. I'm pretty sure he is.
He is. Yeah. Okay. I used to see him pretty much twice a week about 3 years ago when I was living by the lake. If you see him, get his number so that you can send it to Richard. Please.
Yeah, I love Cookie. He's always grumpy. Yeah, he's a grumpy little shit at times, but he's awesome as well.
Yeah.
He was big into his music because he would do radio shows. Yeah. He was his tastes were as far driven as punk to his favorite guy was Paul Weller from the Jam, but he'd do country and western swing and Neil Young and. He was all over the show. He must have really
Springsteen and Dylan as well, maybe. Springsteen and Dylan too, do they?
Yeah. I remember I was having a couple of beers with a few guys, and it was in the mid 1990s. It was at the Frankton pub there on a Thursday, and anyway, one of these young guys was going on about Alanis Morissette, being great. Her song "Jagged Little Pill" or whatever, and Cookie turned around. That's school teachers' music.
Oh wow! Yeah. He was one of those guys that definitely had a good ear.
Yes.
Yeah, school teachers' music.
That's funny.
It was good. To be honest, I learned a ton from Cookie. He was one of my first mentors in terms of music albums to buy and helping me out with music and what was good, and I got some decent Stone skins off back in the days when you could get promos and things like that. A few of my promos have come from Cookie. So
He was one of the first guys that taught me the difference between a single, a song, and an album. Richard,
Okay, all right.
Most of us understand what a single is or what a song is on an album, but sometimes taught actually, what's really important is an album. And then when you get presented with, why is this a great album? As opposed to just a record of 2 good songs. He was the guy that.
Well, he would have seen, because he was in that industry, Tracks or Tandies or whatever it was. He would have seen firsthand how superficial the music industry could be.
Good
so
point.
He would see. He would see both sides of the spectrum. He would see, like you say, the hit song, which could be either way. It could be a bubblegum song or a great breakout song. And obviously the follow-up would be the album, and then obviously the merchandise as well, the promo gear. So he basically had before you and I and us as fans, the introduction in New Zealand being obviously working there.
He was a big Hello Sailor fan too.
Okay.
I remember him saying that he appreciated Graham Brazier. Yeah, I remember having a conversation with him about Graham Brazier. I never thought much of Graham Brazier at the time, and again, he was one of the guys.
Because you met him at the Cambridge Hotel.
Yeah.
I won't mention the story.
No. But
he was. But as you were arriving, he was leaving with a smile on his face. Is that right?
Yeah. But I do remember having a chat with Cookie, and Cookie was putting Graham Brazier into context with arguably, I think, the Rolling Stones. Saying what Graham Brazier had done in the late 70s as far as the rock and roll lifestyle and putting New Zealand on the map, and also being a great Kiwi and fucking it up when he went and did their audition in America.
Yeah. So no, Cookie was good. I got lots of stuff off him. I learned lots from him. He put me onto the Choir Boys, which are arguably my second favourite band these days.
Cool.
He introduced me to them. Now I've got a lot of promo stuff from Cookie and just a lot of general Stones history and stuff. As a 17-year-old initially, I guess 18-year-old, learning my way through all of this stuff, and he was very helpful. He gave me a lot of shit about it as well and told me I should be buying other stuff. But generally, he was pretty good.
That was a neat store, because you walk in the front, it was on the corner, and then you walk down those stairs. And there was Cookie's. There was Cookie's dungeon.
That's right.
Yes, it was.
So all the pop music was
there
up
was the
at
back
the top.
stairs as well, the back alleyway on the Ward Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are the great. That's when McDonald's tasted actually quite good, and it was just the good old days, eh?
Yeah, the good old days. Yeah. The Voodoo Lounge tour. So I won a second set of tickets through having my car. I remember must have been the Rock, because they were the Hamilton station, weren't they, at the time? They had a competition.
Yeah.
What would you do to get tickets? And I remember a few people did all sorts of crazy things. Mine was to paint my car, and they broadcasted live from my car one day. So I took one of the DJs on a trip up and down Victoria Street in my car, and they were talking about it on air, and he was on the radio or the phone to the guy in the studio, and so they broadcasted live basically from my car for a few minutes one day, and they gave me a set of tickets that I then sold to.
Wow, was Roger Farrelly there in those days?
Yeah, it was Farrelly was on the radio, so his sidekick, whoever that was the guy with me in the car.
Mark Bunting.
Bunting, it could have been Bunting in the morning or whatever, or maybe not. I can't remember who it was. So.
Wow.
Was it Dean? Was it Dean something or not? I can't remember.
Before I go, with obviously Voodoo Lounge, and you obviously reading a lot of the articles and the interviews and press releases, and what the Stones think of New Zealand. I mean, obviously they want to be nice everywhere they go, but anything special that rings in your mind about New Zealand, or
from the most famous Keith Richards, one of his most famous quotes, or relates to New Zealand, obviously. Yeah, exactly.
The arsehole of the world.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah. Okay.
So that's the main thing. They say they like, they like everywhere. I guess they like, it's a long way to come here, but if you're in Australia, it's only another 3 hours. They get to have a look around, go to the museum, they go out on the harbour if they want to on boat. So they can do whatever they want.
He loves New Zealand now because it was a New Zealand surgeon that saved his life. So he doesn't say anything about New Zealand being on the arse end of the world anymore.
No, he'll take that back.
I enjoyed that snippet when they came off the plane and Angela Diordney, who presented the show.
Incidentally, one of Richard's friends said was hot.
He was being a little sarcastic, I think.
Interesting. She was a great presenter. But Mick in that short time frame was very, very professional when he spoke to the reporter about.
Very good.
He haven't been in New Zealand for a while. And he says, "Oh no, we every intention to come. We love the place. Glad to be here." And he basically had less than 30 seconds to talk because the car was already revved up and ready to go.
But what I liked about it though was the way that he sort of broke away purposely to have a chat to the press. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And before I'm actually glad that we're having the show because I've never checked out Keith Richards or Mick Jagger on Instagram, and they've got a great Instagram page, both of them. I sense, and this is just common sense with most people, but they have a real love for their family and friends.
Definitely.
Because a lot of
very much family men,
Yeah, a lot of the people that they've been around with, obviously musicians, but most notably a lot of photographers are passing away every month, every year. And they're just doing these little tributes every post on their Instagram saying there's someone, Frank, from the 72 tour. There was another guy had a German last name, these photographers, and some really touching posts on Anita Pallenberg, obviously, from Keith saying, always in my heart. And Mick Jagger is in his big mansion on a Strat, 75 years old, jamming away and playing the harp. There's a picture of him in Scotland next to a big bull, so you hope he doesn't attack me. These guys are great. They're just human. And it's quite sad. He does every 8 posts. He does one with the that tall lady that committed suicide.
Ren Scott.
So no. But in closing, I unfortunately have to go. But thank you, Richard, for coming along. From my point of view, we'll have to do this again. This is you mentioned the word too long between drinks. Last time was probably a year ago, dear Richard. So
it was a while ago. Yeah, maybe just after I'd come back from America or something. Was it? I don't know. But
I think so.
Because of the wait for a year.
So
well, in a couple of months' time, if you want to come on, anytime you want to come on, Richard, anytime you want to, because we do this weekly. We're doing this weekly, so anytime you want to jump on and tell us a story or share something that you've got,
for sure.
Annoy us, but we'll certainly be getting you back on within the next couple of months just to continue.
Cool.
Hopefully we've had some news. We've heard some news about the Stones.
Doing something.
Yeah, I want to mention too with the Instagram.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Just quickly, okay. as I was friendly with this young black guitarist who was like 15, who was amazing, and he basically kept. He's just a protege, just was really good. Gary Clark Jr. Yeah. He got to play. He got to play and talk with the Stones. I mean, how many people? I knew the guy. He was a friend of mine in Austin. How many people get to do that? I mean, you had to buy Mitsubishi Mirage. It didn't get the warrant of fitness. You got a speeding ticket. You painted it. You called up all the radio stations.
Got given wrong information.
and Gary Clark Jr. just waltzes into the hotel room.
Exactly, he's on stage with them. Yeah, and I've seen him with the Stones. So
it's unfair.
Life like that.
I heard you guys. mentioning when I was off air, I managed to still keep a tap on what you guys were saying on my cell phone. You mentioned that there's a re-release, Richard, of is it Goat's Head Soup?
Yeah, Goat's Head Soup's in the pipeline. That's what we're hearing. So Mick said that in an interview. So it's obvious, you know, it's a true thing.
So when's that going to be available? Do you think?
Sometime in the next 10 years, hopefully sooner. So yeah,
Okay.
I have no idea, and I guess everything's slowed down. You know, record store day's been moved, so I guess lots of music releases are being affected at the moment. So
Okay,
yeah, so
because
it'll come when it's ready. You know, and like I'd like it here tomorrow, but if I have to wait 6 months or a year, so be it. You know, it's going to be good. You know,
Okay, well, we can always do a show on anything like that.
Of stuff already. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, anything that's re-released or in the pipeline, we can do a show. I'm keen to.
Yeah. Well, there's Satisfaction is due to come out of the 12-inch single on green vinyl in a week or two. Ronnie Wood's, I've got my own album to do, being re-released on coloured vinyl at some stage this year. So there's always new stuff coming, you know, that I've got on order or whatever from different places. The one thing that's frustrating me, I've got a Boeing aeroplane model from Revell on order, which has been on order for a year, but I don't know if they're making it. And my understanding now is that they're having copyright issues with the Stones, and so whether or not they can make it, it may never come.
On my YouTube feed or just certain things I've seen, Ronnie Wood's got a side project. He seems to be keeping quite busy with music. Is that right?
No, he's always busy.
Yeah. So he's doing quite well.
Yeah, he has been up until now, obviously, but
Okay.
But no, Ronnie's been great. He's been in the media and stuff, and he's talked about because he's alcoholic, so he's done a couple of Facebook posts directed at alcoholics, you know, about, you know, staying strong and, you know, and trying to help them out. So that's been awesome, you know. That's
I just can't believe these guys in their mid-70s, and I'm watching them. I mean, watching Mick Jagger in some jeans and a ripped T-shirt and jumping up and down with the harp and the guitar. They just give us a zeal for life. I think I'm old, but these guys are 40, 50 years older. And Ronnie Wood's got a cheeky smile. He's got a young girlfriend, a couple of babies. He's just given me hope.
Yeah.
It's just great.
Yeah, for sure. No, they are role models and they are inspirational in lots of ways, you know, in lots and lots of ways. But basically, to live your life and enjoy it and you know, live it to the fullest, I guess, is the underlying thing. And don't give a shit about what other people think or do. Just get on with it, you know.
Since this lockdown, Richard, with obviously stores closed, liquor stores closed, grocery stores heavily quarantined, 6 metre distance. Have you gone into your secret stash and had any Rolling Stones cereal or Rolling Stones liquor to keep you alive?
Funny you should say that. No, this is the closest I've got when I went and bought some of us just before the lockdown, some Stone and Wood. So I'm still working my way through that. But no, I haven't had to.
He's got 100 years of Rolling Stones lighters there somewhere too, haven't you?
Yeah.
Big lighters.
Exactly, I do. Just over here. So, but I have like the biscuits from Chile that I often look at and go, they could be quite nice, you know, these chocolate biscuits from Chile. And but I haven't had to break out any of that, you know. It'll be a sad day when that comes to beer if I'm eating my way through the Stones, through the Voodoo Lounge.
I want to get you on
awesome.
live on air saying this, Richard. So maybe end of May we can get you on and you can give us a bit of a tour through your Voodoo Lounge if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. I would love to give you a tour of the Voodoo Lounge and we can talk about things and we can take our time and do it via the phone and not look at me so much, but look at stuff and I can explain things and you can ask questions and.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so end of last weekend in May, if that's a chalk-in date, we can do that.
Yeah, we can talk. Yeah, I can't obviously plan it at the moment, but for sure in May sometime. So what's that, a month away, 4 or 5 weeks time, or whatever.
Cool.
5 or 6 weeks.
Carl's
that's fine.
Yep. His phone's gone dead. Look, I want to thank you very much, my friend. It's a pleasure.
No worries.
You're you're an inspiration too. And I think you kind of realize, the role that you've got in our community, and it's a role that you've worked hard to achieve. It's and I mean that respectfully. You've done the miles. You're a fan of reputation and repute, and you've put your money where your mouth is. So we're humbled to have you. We're in awe of you, and so you're an inspiration for Carl and I, and I'm sure a lot of Stones fans around the world. So we wish you well, and keep safe and be safe.
Cheers,
and,
you too.
And we'll see you in about a month's time.
Yes. Yep, sounds good, Andrew. Cool. Look forward to it. Cheers, mate. See ya. Bye.